Not too long ago, I did a Liza P run where I started the game at the highest NG+ difficulty, and after doing that run, it had me thinking, what would it be like to play Dark Souls 1 starting from a fresh character at NG+7? So, I'm here today to see, can you beat Dark Souls starting at NG+7? Well, we all know it's a yes, because if you deal damage, you could win, but let's find out how. Also, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more crazy runs like these, or just like seeing me suffer. But, more importantly, let's talk about today's sponsor, Proton Drive. Proton Drive is trusted by game developers and security experts to content creators and gamers. Proton is the world's leading provider for truly private, end-to-end encrypted software. Unlike Google or Microsoft, Proton delivers privacy by default. They keep your files and photos locked down with zero-access encryption so only you can see your data. Not advertisers, not AI models, and not even Proton themselves. With Proton Drive, you can back up and organize photos automatically, collaborate instantly with Proton Docs and Proton Sheets, share files securely with password protection, control every permission, and decide who can view or edit your content. Personally, my favorite feature is being able to recover any deleted or accidentally removed file within the past 10 years. As someone who does content creation, I'm constantly moving, naming, or even deleting files, and it's bound to happen that I might end up accidentally getting rid of some important footage. Which sadly has happened to me in the past, but with Proton Drive, that's no longer an issue, and it alleviates the stress of thinking I just lost hours of work from a simple mistake. So if you too would like to check out Proton Drive for free, check out my link in the description or the pinned comment down below. Proton and I would like to thank y'all for your time, and with that, we can get into the rules for this run. Rule number 1, I must play the game on NG+7. I bet y'all didn't see that one coming. Rule number 2, I cannot use summons to help in boss fights. And lastly, number 3, I must beat every boss in the game. With the rules out of the way, let's get this run started. Starting off with the class, I go with the Thief for the Bandit Knife. The reason for the Bandit Knife is that it has bleed buildup, which means I can bleed 2 specific bosses for 10 to 15% of their HP per proc. I then name my character Ryan Reynolds because the Far East Traveler's face weirdly looks like him. With my character made, I start off locked in a cell, but my game is still in NG, so to fix that, I open up Cheat Engine and use a cheat table to set my journey, aka new game level, to 9, which equates to NG+8, but the scaling stops at 7. For what changes in the NG scaling is just the enemy's HP, damage, defense, and the amount of souls you earn. Besides that, enemy placement, AI, and items all stay the same. The image on screen should explain things in more detail if you need that. And to show that the NG+ scaling is working, I could not kill this basic hollow in one backstab. On top of that, for more proof, upon killing him I got 125 souls when in NG I would only get 20. With that explanation done with, I get my Estus from good ol' Oscar and plunge on down to the Asylum Demon. Here is where I use the Bandit Knife to proc bleed. The percent-based damage is what makes this fight comfortably doable. I choose to only go one-handed for faster strikes to get bleed build up faster. I ended up only needing 9 procs to kill the Asylum Demon, which only took me 1 minute and 13 seconds to do. That's faster than most of my other crazy challenge runs, and the amount of souls I get for this is 12,500. Well, that's a bit disappointing, but it's the Asylum Demon after all. With that first easy obstacle over with, it's time to get to one of the tougher parts. After arriving in Firelink Shrine, I dump all my points into Intelligence, which I'll explain why in a bit. I then make sure to get some homeward bones from the back area in the shrine, and then head to Undead Burg to get one-shotted by a basic hollow. Lovely. I go back to the Burg again to buy the residence key from the merchants and then do some hardcore parkour down to the lower Burg. This is where the fun begins. I need to run past the dogs and get to the fire so that they can kill themselves by running into it, but instead the dogs fly over the fire and kill me. I wish I could say attempt 2 was better, but it was not. The trick I found to make this work is that if I was about to die to the dogs was to quit out and load back in to reset the dogs. Once they were reset, I would bait them out to walk into the fire instead of jumping at me, and it finally worked on my 5th attempt. With the dogs out of the picture, I can rescue Griggs and get the Sorcerer's Catalyst. The reason for getting this, Griggs, and leveling Intelligence is that the Catalyst damage is solely based on the Intelligence stat. Putting my AR at 158, currently allowing me to do more damage than some plus 10 weapons. So with that said, I take the shortcut to Darkroot Basin to make it to Undead Parish to open the elevator to Firelink Shrine. I then grab the Asylum West key and fly back to the Asylum. Here, to get past the torch guys, I just chill off to the right hand side to lure them away and then run past them. To take out the 2 hollows inside, I use Soul Arrow. allowing me to fight the Stray Demon with no complications. Here will be the second time I use Bleed to kill a boss. The Stray Demon is really easy to kill, you just need to stay close to him to bait out Butt Slam attacks, which you can avoid by just walking 3 steps away, and if he does his AoE attack, just run away or even walk away. The range on it is shorter than you think. I then just need to proc Bleed 11 times to kill the fat bastard, which only took me 3 minutes and 25 seconds to do, earning me 50,000 souls. After the fights, I needed the peculiar doll, which I got by luring the knight to the far left and then running around his right side to get the doll. I then leveled my intelligence to 37, putting my AR at 207. Before leaving, I make sure to grab the iron rusted ring to make my life easier in Blighttown. Back at Firelink Shrine, I used some souls to get Heavy Soul Arrow, which I used to help me take the back way to get to the red Drake farming spot. On NG+7, the Drake will give you 3,450 souls, making it pretty easy to get over 40,000, allowing me to buy the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring, which will boost my sorcery damage. And while I was at it, I bought the Great Soul Arrow, the Great Heavy Soul Arrow, and Magic Weapon. I then used the leftover souls to get my attunement to 12 for a second spell slot. With that done, I use a speedrunner strat to go over the rooftop to get to the female merchant, so that I can buy alluring skulls from her. I then use those skulls to distract the army of Hollow so that I can make it to Locktrick and free him, to then kick him off a ledge so that he doesn't kill the Firekeeper, removing my access to the bonfire. Once done committing murder, I use the Master Key at the bottom of the shrine to go to the Valley of the Drakes, where I can get the red Tearstone ring, which will increase my damage by 50% once my HP is below 20%. I then use the shrine's rooftop and gravity to reduce my HP below 20%, proccing RTSR. On the way to the Gargoyles, I use 2 more alluring skulls to distract the Hollow army, allowing me easy access to the boss room, where it's time to fight the Gargoyles. Here I just use Great Heavy Soul Arrow for a big damage, but also for the fact it stuns the first Gargoyle, giving me time to cast another one right after it. When the second Gargoyle shows up, I run away to play it safe and then use another Heavy Soul Arrow to take out the first one. After that, it just took a few shots from Heavy Great Soul Arrow to finish off the second one, earning me 62,500 souls, which I used to get my intelligence to 46, putting my AR at 220. At this moment, I decided to kill the merchant for the Uchi Katana because I thought I was going to need it, but I really didn't. But I will need the winged spear for an upcoming boss fight. I do get the katana to +5 to help with his damage, and then head to Blighttown, where I happily get poison, allowing it to drain my HP below 20% so that I can take on Quelaag. For Quelaag, I run to the left side and jump up this ledge and roll 2 times to get myself situated to spam Great Soul Arrow at Quelaag's human half to stun her in place. Now, I could have done my normal hang out in the armpit trick, or just use the high ground to do this exact same thing. But I wanted to do something different this time around, and I just wanted to show this off. My reward for this scummy technique is 75,000 souls. Before using them though, I talked to the White Lady to join her covenant and get the Great Chaos Fireball, which I will need for later. I then kill Ceaseless the same way as usual, and use all his souls I gathered to get my intelligence to 51, putting my AR at 228. Might not be much, but every point counts in this run. Once done leveling, I go to Sin's Fortress to free Old Man Logan, so that I can buy Homing Soul Mass and Soul Spear, but I only have enough souls for Homing Soul Mass. As y'all could guess, I used the Drake farm to get the 40,000 souls to be able to buy Soul Spear, which means I am ready for the Taurus Demon. For the 2 skeletons up top, I use Homing Soul Mass to take them out, and then use Gravity once again to proc RTSR, allowing me to bully the +7 Taurus Demon to smithereens. Sadly, the amount of souls he gives me is only enough for 1 level. After that easy fight, I get the Crest Shield to help with stamina recovery while being taken advantage of by a Black Knight. I also at this moment had the great idea to take on the Hydra, which I thought could be bled, but it cannot. So on round 2, I use a Soul Spear to take out a head or 2, and then use Great Soul Arrow, which sadly wasn't enough to kill the last Hydra head. I did try to kill it with the katana, but that wasn't going to work. So I ran back and got the longbow nearby and bought some arrows from Andre, so I could go back and repeatedly shoot the last head until it finally fell off. Probably should have waited until after getting the crystallization staff, but hey, it is what it is. I then spun in a circle, slapping a golden golem until it died, freeing Dusk, and with Dusk saved, I could get her headpiece that will increase my sorcery damage. After that, I get my winged spear to +5 so that I can use the Grass Crest Shield to block dogs' attacks while poking them with a magic weapon winged spear. making the Capra demon fight a breeze, or not? It's fine, I needed to set up RTSR anyways. After setting up RTSR, I was finally able to make it past the dogs to be able to block and poke them to death, and with the dogs out of the picture, I just needed to use Heavy Soul Arrow to take out the Capra demon. Why not Soul Spear or Homing Soul Mass, you say? Well, in my defense, I don't make the best decisions in life. It's why I do challenge runs for a living. With now having the Depth's Key, I say Laurentius, get the Large Ember for much later, and farm Rats for humanity. After farming, I get the Pyromancy Flame from Laurentius. Needing souls to upgrade it, I farm the Hunters at Darkroot Gardens, and while here, I got the Wood Grain Ring to help out with the Bed of Chaos fight. Once done at the gardens, I get my flame to plus 15, then head to Blighttown to talk to Quelaag to ascend my Pyromancy Flame, and finally use the humanity from the rats to get my Chaos Covenant rank to plus 3, earning me Chaos Storm, which costs 2 slots to use, so I get my attunement to 14 for a 3rd spell slot. I then break some giant balls and use the Hollow Guard below to take an arrow to the back to trigger RTSR, so I could deal big damage to the Iron Golem. I focus on using Soul Spears on the legs, and once out of spears, I use Chaos Storm to topple the giant. Sadly, it wasn't enough to kill, so I had to finish him off with a katana, so I guess it paid off after all having it. The Iron Golem in the end ended up giving me 150,000 souls. I then use those souls to get my intelligence to 60 to get ready for the 10 crystallization catalysts and put some points into faith. Once done leveling, I hardcore parkour through Rondo and parkour around the blacksmith to trigger RTSR. It would have been smarter to use the dung pie strategy to inflict toxic on myself, but I won't think of that strat until later. With that said, it's time for O and S, where I made the fatal mistake in round 1 to use Soul Spear at the start and not Homing Soul Mass, which ended up leading me to my death. In round 2, I got smart and used Homing Soul Mass to annihilate Ornstein's health bar, but made the fatal mistake of killing him where Super Smough spawns. Because of that, Smough landed on top of me, staggering me, and then sitting on me again to kill me. Thank you, Dark Souls! Took 2 tries, but I finally made it back to Super Smough, where I used a Broken Pillar, Homing Soul Mass, Soul Spear, and Great Soul Arrow to make quick work of Super Smough, netting me 187,500 souls, the largest amount of souls you can receive within the game. I then used those souls to get my attunement to 16 for a 4th spell slot, and then the rest of the points went into Faith. While being in Orlando, I do some jump quitting to access Gwendolyn. I just use Homing Soul Mass for the tracking and Great Chaos Fireball for the lava damage it does after hitting an enemy, making this an easy first try. With Gwendolyn defeated, I make sure to get Sunlight Blade for the 4 Kings fight. After getting Sunlight Blade, I go to the Painted World to take on Priscilla, but first I use the archers to deal tick damage to me while holding up the shield to get me into RTSR state. With now being in RTSR, I can fight Priscilla. After hitting Priscilla with the Soul Spear, I find her footsteps to use Chaos Storm to make her visible again, and then use Soul Spear to kill her. Even in NG+7, she's still an easy fight. With Priscilla taken care of, I place the Lord's Soul to access the second half areas, where I start with the Demon Ruins to take on the Fire Sage, but I first use the Little Demons to trigger RTSR with blocking their Fire Breath attacks. So you could already guess how quick the Fire Sage fight went with Homing Soul Mass and Soul Spear. Upon beating the Fire Sage, I get access to its bonfire, which means I can now open the secret passage to farm Sunlight Maggots for Sunlight Metals, which I will need 10 of to get Great Lightning Spear. Once done collecting Sunlight Metals, I pick a fight with the Centipede Demon, where I learned the valuable lesson in lingering hitboxes. Round 2 was much better with me just free aiming this time to get hits in quicker, making this fight go by super quick. Then, of course, after this fight is the Bed of Chaos, where you just break 3 things and then win. But this is where the Wood Grain Ring helped me out, because on the way to the second breaking point, I could use the extra iframes to dodge the Bed of Chaos arm, allowing me to get the second break with no issues. So, you know, the usual Bed of Chaos experience. Also, all Lord Souls from this point will just be giving me 150,000 souls, which I will use to increase my faith scaling. With beating the Bed of Chaos, I can get Fire Tempest, which is only a single spell slot, so it makes it better to use over Chaos Storm since it allows me to use more spells with it. I then join the Sunlight Covenant and offer up the medals to get Great Lightning Spear, grab the Claymore in the area for later, and kill Solaire for his talisman. I then spend an absurd amount of time trying to kill the blue crystal dude to get the pendant. I then free Logan from his imprisonment so that I can buy all his spells off of him so that I could kill him to get the 10 crystallization catalysts without doing his questline. At 60 init, my AR will be 297, plus the catalyst will boost sorcery damage as well at the cost of halving my spells. With my intelligence finally kicking in, I buy dung pies and blooming purple moss clumps from the female merchant so that I can toxic myself to the point of being an RTSR and then use those clumps to remove toxic. I'll be using this method from now on to trigger RTSR. First up in the DLC is the Sanctuary Guardian, where I use Homing Soul Mass and Soul Spear to pelt the giant cats after it does its slam attacks, and once out of Soul Spears, I use Great Chaos Fireball to finish the job. I then use those souls to get my Ascended Flame to +3 and go right back to the DLC to take on Artorias, whom decided to remind me that this is an NG+7 run, so I shouldn't be taking it so lightly as I have been. Too bad he only killed me once, so I still took this run very lightly. Well, until the 4 Kings that is, but we're not there yet. The trick for Taurus is to bait out his jump attacks. When he does the jump, run under him and start to cast a spell while turning around to lock onto him. Once out of Soul Spears to cast, switch to Great Chaos Fireball, but make sure to put away the Crystallization Catalyst or it will half your fire spell cast without boosting its damage. Just throw all 4 fireballs and he will go down. Why am I not using the crystal version of Soul Spear and Homing Soul Mass? Y'all already know the answer to that, so I don't need to explain myself again. I then head back to Quelaag to use the 125 souls that I got to get my Ascended Flame to +5, and then use the rest of them to get my Faith to 35. Meaning, it's time to take on Manus, Father of the Abyss. For Manus, I started with Crystal Soul Mass, running away to bait out slam or jump attacks to get all 5 shots off. Once all 5 casts were done, I switched to Soul Spear, which I just repeated the same strat as Soul Mass to get hits in. After those 2 shots, I do 2 more shots with the Crystal Soul Spear, which leaves Manus with 1/4 of his HP left. I then wait for him to do his room-wide attack so that I can run next to him to get Fire Tempest off for the kill, but for a second I thought he was going to survive it, which did give me a mini heart attack. With Manus defeated, I level up to 92, start throwing lightning bolts at a giant butterfly until I snap it out of the sky. I then tried to burn a dragon to death, but instead had to pelt it with Homing Soul Masses and Soul Spears to get the job done. Then there was Kalameet, where I just had to wait for Fire Breath attacks to get Soul Spears off, and once out of Soul Spears, I just started using Homing Soul Mass, and after Soul Mass, I used Fire Tempest to almost burn a dragon to death. Sadly, I finished him off with Soul Mass, so no dragon burn death today. I then bully Pinwell with an onslaught of magic bullets, no shocker there. Then for Nito, I use the fall damage to trigger RTSR. To keep the skeletons from coming after me, I use the spell Hidden Body that I got from Dusk, but I can't walk or it will alert the skeletons. So to dodge Nito's spike attack, you can just two-hand the staff and hold block, which will open your legs, allowing you to get thrusted but take no damage. Once Nito got close, I just spammed him with magic bullets and then finished him off with Fire Tempest before his skeleton army could get to me. With only 2 lords left, that just leaves Seath the Scaleless. For Seath, I let him come super close to me, and as he gets ready to attack, I run away to let him break his own crystal. With his crystal broken, I then go for Fire Tempest near his belly to do as much damage as possible. Once burning his stomach, I just run away and start casting Great Lightning Spear at him, and after 5 casts, he went down, allowing me to enact justice for the deaths of his fallen brethren in the Dragon War that he backstabbed for his own greed. After killing Seath, I get the Very Large Ember so that I could get the Claymore to +15 for the 4 Kings fight, but first, I need to take care of a dog. Which wasn't too hard to do with Soul Spear and Homing Soul Mass, but I will point out how insane it is that I could miss with a Soul Spear with my Catalyst literally inside the dog. Like, what the fuck, FromSoft, what is this coding? Luckily, it didn't take too many hits to kill the poor girl. With having the Covenant of Artorias and getting my Faith to 53, it was time to take on the hardest boss in this entire run, the 4 Kings. The reason the 4 Kings are so rough is for the fact it's a DPS check, but also for the fact the boss can launch a heat-seeking missile at you that takes over 30 seconds before it will go away, and on top of all of this, I have to use RTSR for the damage boost, which means I cannot get hit. So, playing the game of RNG, it meant I was going to die a good bit of times. I even had one really good run on my 12th attempt where I thought I had them, but they casted the homing missile, and with trying to watch that and the 4 kings, I ended up getting hit in the process. Luckily on attempt 17, I was finally able to pull it off. The strategy was to use Crystal Homing Soul Mass at the start to get damage off once close to the kings. Then from here, cast Crystal Soul Spear after dodging his attacks, which only took 2 hits to kill the first king, and I make sure to get a hit off with the Claymore for some chip damage. I then put up my magic missiles back up and repeat the process with Soul Spear, but 2 Soul Spears don't kill the second king, so I had to use the Claymore to finish the job. For the third king, I just used the remaining Crystal Homing Soul Masses to kill the king. I then buffed my Claymore with Sunlight Blade to take on the final king. And this motherfucker decided to cast his damn magic missile at me, so I had to bum rush him as soon as possible to get 2 hits off for the win. Thank God, that was one hell of a fight. Now, some of you might be asking why no Great Lightning Spear. Well, that's because the casting time would have been too slow and I would have most likely have been hit in the process of casting it. It probably would have been better to use the normal Lightning Spear, but I just wanted to use the Claymore with Sunlight Blade because I figured the damage would be higher. With the RNG gods finally looking in my favor, I level up for the last time to 109 and open the doors to the final boss, that is Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. Damn it, Gwyn. So I had the bright idea of not parry looping Gwyn to death to make this a bit more interesting, and yeah, I'm regretting that now. I ended up dying 13 times, but this is how I got him. So I go into the fight and cast Crystal Homing Soul Mass. I then parry Gwyn, which the magic missiles will hit and deal big damage, while I follow up with a Visceral with my Bare Fist. After the Bare Fist, I switch to the Pyromancy Flame to get Fire Tempest off, but I make sure to stay far back enough to trigger Gwyn to swing instead of a grab, so that his attack would miss. After this, I just run back and wait for another parry moment to knock him down to finish him off with the Crystal Soul Spear. Completely unnecessary and could have been done a lot easier, but hey, I made it work. With that, it brings us to the end of the run, showing that not only can you beat Dark Souls starting at NG+7, but it's not near as hard as beating Liza P starting at NG+7. With all that said, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, hit that subscribe button. At this time, I would also like to thank my channel supporters, and if you too would like to support the channel or have your name in the video, you can click the Patreon link in the description or click the YouTube join button. I also from time to time stream my runs, so you can catch me streaming on YouTube or over on Twitch at Arcane Gaming. I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care.